Olá, profetas e profetisas do Senhor, né? Quem vos fala aqui é o Pr.Miqueias Labareda. Estou com conteúdo aqui no YouTube, né? Peço a você encarecidamente que ainda não é inscrito nesse canal, que se inscreva, deixa o seu like, aperte no sininho de notificação, porque toda vez que eu publicar um vídeo, você venha a ser notificado, amém? Quero mostrar aqui, né, milagres que aconteceram sem a oração, milagres que aconteceram sem ser usado a palavra, né? Pessoas que agiam de má fé, pedindo dinheiro nas esquinas, na rua. Isso não é só fora do Brasil, isso acontece muito também aqui na cidade de São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, né, Campinas, Campo Grande e assim por diante neste Brasil e fora dele, né? Pessoas que agem de má fé, usando de falsa deficiência para enganar muitas pessoas de bom coração, que têm o desejo e vontade de ajudar o próximo, né? Mas este que usam isso para ganhar dinheiro. E muitas das vezes pessoas que usam isso para ganhar dinheiro fácil, você sabe para que eles vão usar, né? Quando não é para encher a cara, né, de álcool e outras coisas, é para usar a verdinha, o cigarro e assim por diante, usar como meretriz. Mas eu quero que você deixe aqui também a sua opinião, deixe o seu like, se inscreva no canal, veja aí até o final. Ficou um pouco longo, mas assista até o final. Milagres que não foram precisos usar a oração, e sim a força, como disse Paulo, né? Paulo vai dizer assim: não vos falei no Espírito, porque vocês não estão no Espírito, mas falei na carne, porque na carne vocês estão, e assim irão entender. Amém? Que Deus te abençoe, em nome de Jesus. Hype esse vídeo aí, se aparecer a opção para você de hypar, hype ele, deixe seu like, deixe seu comentário, e que Deus te abençoe, em nome de Jesus.
Sai da frente, Satanás!
Today's video is a bit different. Not only do we have people lying about being poor, but also scammers being caught on camera. This compilation caught them red-handed. And what happened next was really satisfying to watch. While managing traffic, a police officer spotted a man sitting in a wheelchair near a signal with a woman standing behind him. It looked like they needed help, so the officer walked over. But as he got closer, something didn't feel right. The man's legs looked fine, so the officer gently asked if he could stand. At first, the man said no, but after a bit of pressure, he slowly stood up. The officer didn't escalate things. He just told them to stop faking situations like this, especially when there are real people out there who actually need support. Crutching out. In New York City, a seemingly poor woman would stand near Fifth Avenue, leaning on crutches and asking for help. She barely moved, looked exhausted, and many people gave her change out of sympathy. But she didn't know she was being watched. A group that investigates street scams had been tracking her routine for days. They had seen her walk without aid, going from one place to another by using her two perfectly healthy legs. She used to get off a bus in Queens, walk to her apartment, and even do some shopping. So one day, they decided to wait for her at her favorite scamming spot, back on Fifth Avenue. Once they confronted her, she didn't leave her fake crutches, but was definitely walking after than before to get out of there.
We've been watching you the last few days, and you don't really need those crutches, do you? We saw you this morning walking perfectly fine.
Failed insurance. People will do anything to get an easy paycheck, but not all of them have the brains for it. Take a look at what this dash cam caught. Captured in Browns Plains, Australia, a driver was ambushed by a woman that came rushing towards him. Just seconds later, the driver realized that this wasn't any normal insurance fraud, but also an attempt of carjacking. A guy was waiting behind the trees, and there were several people running towards him from behind the vehicle. However, the driver's quick thinking saved him loads of trouble. And the dashcam also showed the intentions of these frauds. lending a leg. Back in 2016, a man noticed someone sliding around on a small board, pretending to have no legs. The movements were too smooth, almost practiced. Something didn't sit right, so he decided to hang around and watch. A few minutes later, the man saw the beggar reach down and start adjusting his oversized pants. That's when the truth slipped out. His legs were folded tight underneath, perfectly hidden. He'd managed to tuck them in just right to fake the disability. The moment he realized he'd been caught, he used his hands to push off the board and quietly left the area. Writing checks. This dude just tried to scam a business. CCTV footage from inside of a cafe in Middlesex County, New Jersey shows an elderly man in a cap pouring ice into a cup, trying to plot a scheme, which will backfire miserably. After making sure that there was no one around, he drops all the ice on the floor and pretends to walk over it. Not only was his acting incredibly poor, but he somehow failed to realize that there are cameras all over the cafe. He was later arrested by the county's police and was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 14 hours of community service. He also had to pay $600 to the business. I guess we can say he was writing checks his body couldn't cash. Everyday deception. This man took the same route to work every day. And every day, he passed a beggar who crawled on the ground, acting like he couldn't walk. At first, he didn't think much of it. But over time, he started to pay closer attention. Something felt off, like all of it was too rehearsed. So one morning, he confronted the beggar and said calmly, "The police know about you. They're on their way." That's all it took. The man suddenly stood up, tore off his pants, and ran down the street. In just seconds, the act fell apart, and the truth was out for everyone to see.
Asa isang paa mo? Pakita mo. Tayo ka nga.
Anything for money.
I think I saw you over here on the corner, holding up a sign. You might remember holding up.
Every morning, a woman passed by the same man holding a cardboard sign that read, "Homeless, anything helps." He stood on the same corner, same expression, but one day, she watched him walk to a white car. Clean, new, and definitely his. That's when she decided to follow him. She trailed him across neighborhoods until he finally reached a house and walked right in. She asked him directly, and he didn't even flinch. He didn't like the questions, but he didn't deny the truth either.
Into what looked like sort of a nice car, and then come here, I saw we parked.
Stick drop. Would you do what the driver is about to do? A truck driver noticed something odd while driving. On the roadside, a man limped forward, using sticks to support himself. It looked like he was barely able to walk. But as the driver kept recording, the man suddenly straightened his back, folded the sticks under his arm, and started walking normally. A moment later, he walked up to the truck and asked for help. The driver still gave him money. Armless scam. While investigating street scams in India, a group spotted a man sitting on the roadside with one arm missing, or at least that's what it looked like. His other arm was hidden inside his shirt, and he told people he had lost it. But when the investigators approached and asked him to show it, he refused. One of them reached forward and gently lifted the fabric, revealing the arm tucked underneath. Without saying much, they brought him to the local police and kept moving, looking for others doing the same thing. Blindness act. This happened in South Africa. Back in 2017, a man sat by the road with dark glasses on, acting blind. Passers-by felt bad and offered money. But one man noticed something odd. He watched as the beggar took the cash and slipped it straight into his pocket without any struggle. That didn't look blind, so he walked back and faked a sudden kick. The man flinched instantly. That was all it took. When confronted, the man admitted he wasn't blind. He just needed the money. Well, at least he was honest. Caught on live TV. In Pakistan, during a live TV segment, a man was seen dragging himself across a busy road, acting like he couldn't use his legs. His movements drew sympathy from everyone walking by. But one local man watching closely wasn't convinced. He walked over, calmly told him the police were coming, and asked him to stand. The man hesitated for a moment, then stood up without any issue. Cameras were rolling the whole time, and nearby people caught it too. In the end, the man admitted what he was doing. Same spot, same lie. There was a man who always noticed a woman sitting near the station, claiming she couldn't walk. She told the same story every time, and he believed her until one day he caught her walking through a crowded train station like nothing was wrong. That is until she got to her usual spot. She sat down and slipped right back into character. He saw her pull this off again and again, but never said a word. Thankfully, he uploaded all of it on YouTube and made sure people of New York knew about her. Blatant scam.
Oh, here's this fuckface. Watch this. Yep.
This one is just ridiculous, and I'll tell you why. At first, it looks like the driver of this dark blue sedan made a bad turn and just barely avoided being T-boned. But that's not the case. You see, as the driver of this dashcam footage was going well within the speed limit, the blue sedan driver could have easily maneuvered out of the way, or not have driven at all. And that's not all, because a few days ago, the same blue sedan attempted the same thing. In this footage, you can clearly see the blue car speeding up and just barely missing the car. Unfortunately for the blur car, it was the same driver who recorded everything. Even recorded the driver turning around after the failed insurance fraud.
Oh, here's this fuckface. Watch this.
Homeless woman.
Don't bark around me. You got it?
What are you gonna do? You don't have it. You're begging for money.
In Richmond, a man was out looking to help someone in need when he came across a woman claiming to be homeless. He asked her how much she usually made, but she avoided the question and told him to stop recording. That only made him more suspicious. So, over the next few days, he quietly observed her from a distance. Eventually, his doubts were confirmed. He watched as she got into a clean, well-kept car and drove off. He finally decided to properly confront her this time and caught everything on camera. And just like that, the lie fell apart.
14 when you're begging for change all over the city of Richmond.
Uniform exposed. A man wearing a military uniform was standing near the roadside, asking strangers for help. Most people passed without question until a real veteran happened to walk by. One look, and he knew something was off. He stopped, called him out, and told him to take the uniform off immediately. The fake soldier stayed quiet, but the veteran kept going, warning him that what he was doing was disrespectful.
And you're wearing a veteran uniform out here telling people you're veterans asking for money?
More cars started to slow down as the situation got louder. He was using something people risk their lives to earn, and the veteran didn't like that. Knowing he'd been exposed, the man didn't argue. He just backed off and left the scene.
All right, sir. Have a nice day, sir. Take that and throw it away. Don't put it back on.
Carefully planned act. In Cambridge, a security camera spotted a familiar group of people who had already been flagged for pulling street scams. They drove in using a Romanian-registered car and parked it on a residential street, paying for a full day at the meter. Then they walked off toward the city center. Once near the shops, they spread out, each heading in different directions to avoid being seen together. One of them even used crutches to sell the story harder. What they didn't know was that local authorities were already watching. The last footage showed them returning to the car, but whether they were caught or not remains unclear. Still, the police had all they needed. Street scam routine.
There is a group of panhandlers targeting some areas who may not be as needy as you think.
At first glance, they looked like a regular struggling family, and they used to be outside shopping centers holding boards that said "need food" or lost their jobs. But one day someone saw them in San Fernando Valley, then again in Santa Clarita Valley, which is 20 miles away.
Stop panhandling in Santa Clarita Valley. We don't want you here. I'm tired of paying for your
He was visiting his relatives when he noticed them, so he contacted a news channel, and they decided to follow them. The family were seen packing things up, hopping into a clean rental SUV, and driving off to another location. They weren't in need of money, and once David Goldstein confronted them, they immediately drove away in shame. Police were also informed, and ever since then, they haven't been seen.
What are you doing? Are you really homeless? Are you really out of work?
Yes, I'm homeless.
Folded scam. Another man was caught using the same trick, sitting low on the sidewalk with his pants bunched up, pretending one of his legs didn't work. When officers approached and asked him to explain, he didn't fight back. He quietly pulled down the layers of fabric, revealing how he had tied up his leg using strings and cloth. Once the knots were undone, the leg dropped out. The officers didn't argue or question. They removed the wraps and took him with them. Bandage reveal. An older woman sat by the roadside, gently waving her hand as she asked for help. Her hand was fully wrapped in a thick bandage. But one afternoon, a police officer stopped and calmly asked to see the wound. She hesitated, but the officer reached over and unwrapped it himself. Underneath, nothing. She lowered her head, clearly embarrassed. The officer didn't make a scene. He just told her to not do it again, or there'll be consequences. Arm scam. In Delhi, a man stood near a traffic light, one arm hidden under his shirt, begging like he had no other choice. But someone nearby had seen this trick before. They pulled out their phone and started recording. When they walked up and asked to see his arm, the truth came out. His missing arm wasn't missing at all, just tucked away. It was a simple trick, but it fooled a lot of people until someone finally called it out. Stack of lies.
I don't have no car. Get the hell away from me right now.
Daniel used to see this old woman standing on the street with a sign. It said she was 78, a widow, and needed help. He felt for her so much that he gave her money every day, even skipping his own lunch once. But one day, he spotted her behind a gas station, counting a thick stack of cash and stepping into a car. When he confronted her, she denied it, but the camera caught everything. Now online, a growing number of people are being told to give help cards instead of money, because sometimes kindness gets manipulated.
Get away from me. No.
Legs revealed. In a crowded street in China, a man was dragging his body across the road, wrapped in cloth from the waist down like he had no legs. He moved slowly, painfully, and people passing by gave him money out of sympathy. But one day, something unexpected happened. A girl walking by accidentally stepped on his cloth, and in that moment, the truth spilled out. The man had legs, and they worked just fine. He stood up, grabbed his things, and sprinted away without looking back. For someone who was supposed to be handicapped, he left that scene faster than anyone expected. Blindfold broken. This man sat by the road, holding a stick, pretending to be blind. His expression stayed still, and people gave him money, feeling sorry for him. But then, a woman nearby decided to test it. She moved her hand in front of his face. Nothing. Then she lightly swung her bag near his head, and that's when he flinched. Hard. The act slipped away in an instant. He realized it too, but stayed quiet. Some lies don't need words to fall apart. Instant recovery. This one almost fooled everyone. A man was caught on security footage crawling across the ground while his wife and kids followed behind. It looked like a serious situation until they reached a staircase. That's when he stopped crawling, stretched his legs, and started walking normally. He didn't even look around. He just stood up and went on like nothing had happened. The whole thing was caught on camera and later shared online, where people joked it looked like his shift as a beggar had ended. Parkside discovery. Every morning, a man made his way through train stations with his knees bent, legs braced, and posture twisted. He looked like someone truly struggling. One person even gave him money every single day without fail. But everything changed one afternoon in a nearby park, when that same person saw him walking normally. Shocked and confused, he walked up to him and confronted him. The man admitted it. He had no job and said this was how he survived. He even showed how he used to fake the posture. It was a daily act for spare change. Disguised for sympathy. Police spotted someone collecting money while dressed as a woman. Something about the way he avoided questions felt off. When officers asked him to stand, they carefully pulled part of the scarf off, and it was a young boy underneath. They asked why he was doing this, and his answer was simple: that women get more money. It was a small moment, but it revealed how far some will go when they feel like it's the only option they have. Bowl of truth. A beggar approached a woman in her car, tapping on the window, holding a bowl already filled with cash. He kept asking. She stared at him, then calmly rolled the window down. Without saying a word, she reached out, took all the money from his bowl, and drove off. He ran after the car, shouting, but she was gone. And I don't know which is worse now. To me, both are equally bad. If you agree with me, comment yes below. Hidden leg. In the middle of a packed road, a young boy sat on the ground, begging with what looked like one leg. People slowed down, dropped coins, and moved on. But the police had been watching. When they asked him to clear the area, he refused. So one officer stepped closer, pulled the cloth off the hidden leg, and just like that, both legs were there. The illusion ended as the boy stood up and casually walked away. Stick and sprint. A man was limping slowly along the sidewalk, leaning on 2 walking sticks. Every step looked painful, and people passing by offered him spare change, thinking he couldn't walk well. But nearby, police officers were watching. One of them stepped forward and took a closer look. His legs seemed fine. Without a word, the man suddenly grabbed the sticks, tossed them over his shoulder, and ran off like nothing was wrong. The cops didn't chase him, they just watched. The performance was over. Bandage and lies. In Srinagar, India, a man and his wife were standing on the street asking for help. His arm was wrapped in thick layers of bandages, and his expression told a sad story. But something felt off. A police officer stopped them and asked him to remove the bandage. The man hesitated, but eventually gave in. Underneath, there were no signs that suggested he needed a bandage. It was all a lie. His wife tried to talk her way out of it, and eventually, the police let them go. Walked away. This guy was posted up at a traffic signal, pretending to be in need of help. Drivers passing by handed him change. But someone was watching the whole time. The second the signal turned green and the traffic cleared, the man stood tall, stretched, and walked away. It was like flipping a switch. That short walk told the real story and caught the whole lie in just a few steps. Caught by locals. In Bangladesh, a man was lying on a cloth with coins scattered beside him. From a distance, it looked like locals were helping him, but they weren't. They were telling him to get up. One of the nearby shopkeepers had seen him walking around the day before. Now the crowd had gathered, quietly waiting to see what he'd do. The beggar stayed silent, picked up his coins, packed his cloth, and slowly stood up. Then, without looking back, he walked away from the area. Door scam. This is why you drive slowly in a neighborhood. Dashcam footage from London begins when a driver was going down a lane, when a guy tried to scam him for insurance. The owner of the silver BMW opened the door hoping that the driver would hit it with his car, but he managed to stop at the last possible second. The BMW owner closes the door, followed by a bunch of suspicious-looking men looking over from behind one of the parked cars. This was clearly a collective effort to try and scam this driver, but all of it failed miserably, nothing more. Larry's fake corner.
I was desperate. I just needed a way to make a little bit of money to make ends meet.
On a street corner in Woodland Hills, Larry stood holding a sign that read, "Out of work, out of money, 80 years old." Many people stopped, handed him cash, and wished him well. But behind that sign, Larry lived in a modest condo with his wife. He had 2 cars and collected Social Security. Some neighbors said he was kind. Others felt like he wasn't being honest.
Look at him, you think, wow, he's just a very distinguished-looking retired man.
Larry said he wasn't pretending to be homeless, just struggling to keep up with bills and health expenses. But that sign never told the full truth, and many people now don't know what to think.
It's a super struggle right now to make ends meet.
Begging operation.
7 fake beggars were arrested in the targeted sting. Stephanie Anderson reports.
In Melbourne, 7 people had flown in from China, not for tourism, but for a job most wouldn't expect. Every day, they split up across city streets, pretending to be desperate for help. They had signs, sad expressions, and convincing setups. But this wasn't random. Police had been keeping an eye on them and eventually confirmed it was a group operation. They were working together, using the public's kindness like a business model. When officers moved in, the truth finally came out. This wasn't just begging. It was an organized scam hiding in plain sight. They were caught and deported back.
Nationals with both a begging offence and possessing property believed to be the proceeds of crime.
Professional beggar.
You don't have to be sleeping rough to be scared.
Outside a betting shop in Liverpool, James spotted a man who had become a regular, always asking for help. But that day, James saw him casually walking down the street. This wasn't moral, so he approached him, asking him if he lived nearby.
I think you met my girlfriend last night. Oh, yeah.
The man didn't deny it. He simply nodded, then said the most outrageous thing ever. When James pointed out that he'd told a very different story to others, the man just shrugged it off and even called what he does as professional begging.
It's like a job. It's called professional begging.
It's not a job, mate.
Sympathy scam.
Hey, don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you guys.
At a busy intersection in Baton Rouge, a couple held a cardboard sign asking for donations. They looked tired, the kind of tiredness that pulls money from wallets.
I understand that there may be a fraud going around.
But when someone got too close, the pair quickly backed off, trying to hide something under their clothes. Turns out they'd been seen before, running the same trick, the same story, each time about a baby in need. Local charities are speaking up now, warning people not to trust every sad sign. Some are real, others are not.
I don't know, it doesn't sound legitimate.
Blindness exposed.
Disability fraud can be robbing taxpayers blind, with some cheaters claiming to be totally blind.
John Calabiano claimed he lost his sight in a work accident. He said he couldn't drive, couldn't cook, couldn't even walk without help.
He claimed he could not drive. He couldn't cook for himself.
His girlfriend guided him to hearings while he applied for disability benefits, asking for a sum close to $1 million. But just days before, CCTV cameras caught him outside a store, reading a newspaper and walking without any help. Another clip showed him driving. The footage was handed over to the court, and that was it. The case ended fast. Turns out he had partial vision loss in one eye, but the other one worked just fine. And the camera caught all of it.
He said he couldn't exercise, he couldn't pay bills or read medication labels.
It was all false.
Fool me once. You'll be fooled at first because it looked like he had only one arm and was asking for help. His shirt was wrapped just right, making the act believable. People handed him money until one man noticed the arm was actually tucked under his shirt. He decided to follow him. Later, he spotted the same boy buying a pair of shoes. When the boy realized he was being watched, he ran. He wasn't caught, but at least the people know. Scamming violinist. At a shopping strip, a man used to play the violin, trying to earn tips from passing shoppers. The sound was convincing until a music teacher happened to walk by. The teacher gave him money and asked for a different song.
Do you know how to play any other song besides that? Any song he wants.
But the tune didn't change. Suspicious, he leaned in closer and realized the notes were way too perfect. He asked the man to play without the speaker. And that's when his scam got exposed. The violinist got defensive, and the teacher called him out for faking the performance with a hidden speaker. Without saying anything, the man packed up and walked away after being caught red-handed.
He's really playing. Oh, he is? Okay, well then let him play.
Subscribers' pick of the day. This man in a wheelchair was begging outside, speaking in a slow, shaky voice that made people stop and feel sorry for him. He said his name was Gary, but what cameras caught next flipped everything upside down.
Bead boy, I'm just playing. I gotta go, y'all. I gotta make some money.
A news crew had been secretly watching him for days, and when they finally walked up and called him by his real name, Gary Thompson, he stood up. Turns out he wasn't just pretending. He'd studied how people with paralysis talk so he could sound more convincing. He made thousands by faking it, and when they asked him why, he didn't argue. He just smiled and got on a bus like nothing ever happened. It's moments like this that remind you, sometimes cameras catch more than just a lie. They capture the truth no one was supposed to see.
Man, I break it.
You
I will break it.
You can't, I thought you could.